Installing dreadlock extensions is actually extremely easy to do. So if you want to learn how to install dreadlock extensions, make sure to go to the Lock Doctor and I have a quick video on how to install them. But it is quite interesting seeing how her dreadlock extensions are installed. Now there are quite a few names that come with dreadlock extensions. And those are, of course, dreadlock extensions, faux dreadlocks, and quite a few people actually call them fake dreadlocks. And it's all just based on the wording. And of course, if you were to choose dreadlock extensions, there is plenty of options to choose from. But enough of her hair actually being in dreadlock extensions, let's talk about her actual dreadlocks. So like I said guys, at first glance I didn't know that she had an actual set of dreadlocks, but looking at these are extremely mature, and based on the maturity of them and based on the length of them, I definitely believe that she's had this in for, I would say, over 10 years. And also at first glance they do look somewhat of traditional style of dreadlocks. And when I say traditional, I mean starting out with twisting with gel, because I believe that's the most traditional way of actually starting out dreadlocks. And I feel like majority of people think that first when they think of dreadlocks or how to get them, which most of you guys know, and if you don't, there's multiple ways of getting dreadlocks. Just like with the Great Locks crochet hook, that's the instant way of getting dreadlocks. Or the interlock tool, or even doing palm rolling or twist and rip. There's so many other methods you can do in order to get dreadlocks. And of course, different methods are good for different hair types. And that's why I make these videos, so I can help everyone out. Now, of course, if you want more in detail help, make sure to go subscribe to the Lock Doctor. It's perfect if you plan on getting dreadlocks or if you want to maintain the ones that you have, because it's quick tutorials and how-to videos on how to actually help your dreadlocks. But looking at how her sections were created, they look pretty organic. I believe she started out with some pretty symmetrical sections. What I mean by that is she probably had a pretty good brick pattern, which of course you can still see she has a decent brick pattern going on, which bricking the dreadlocks just means that they'll lay down a whole lot better. And if you've seen bricks on a house, they typically offset them about 50%. And that's what we see right here. And the reason I'm saying she started out this way is because if you look towards the ends of her dreadlocks, they all look very cylindrical and very symmetrical. But when it comes down to the roots, they do look a little bit more organic. And when it comes to organic sections, what I mean by that is that they look a little bit more freeform, or they look like they formed on their own, and then they went into maintenance later on. And believe it or not, there are so many people that actually go about doing their dreadlocks this way. We've seen this with DaBaby, we actually seen this with Lil Wayne, we also seen this with Sway Lee, and we've seen it with so many other people as well. And it's actually something that I'm implementing myself on my own dreadlocks. And of course, if you want to follow that journey, it's on the main channel, Done to the Great. But if you begin to look at how her dreadlocks are now, it looks like she's going somewhat of a semi-freeform, and I use that extremely loosely because of course she's doing pretty hard maintenance on her dreadlocks. But one thing I always encourage people to do, and I see her doing it as well, is she'll maintain the dreadlocks by obviously doing twisting with gel, and then allow it to go its way for a little bit of time, but then come back with some more maintenance. But that's really what twisting with gel is. It's allowing the hair to lock up on its own, and once the hair is locked, you get a little bit of new growth, and then you go back in with the retwist. So this really isn't semi-freeform, it's just strictly twisting with gel. Now I do want to point one thing out about the dreadlock extensions that she has installed. Now the way she installed them is actually a new way that I was just put onto, and that way is threading your actual dreadlock through the extension dreadlock, so that your own dreadlock is hidden in the middle of that dreadlock extension. And this is actually a really cool way of installing dreadlock extensions. You can actually do this as well even if you don't have dreadlocks. All you do is simply box braid your hair, and then you pull those box braids through the faux dreadlocks. And of course there's plenty of other ways of installing dreadlock extensions. Say if you wanted to do it permanently, of course you can use a crochet hook to pull it all together, but it's really up to you and what you plan on doing. Now one thing about her dreadlocks, she does some really interesting hairstyles. And just like I was mentioning earlier with her doing pretty extreme maintenance, that just comes with doing hairstyles. Typically if you do a hairstyle with dreadlocks, you're going to be doing quite a bit of maintenance, because you have to make sure that your roots are very well maintained so that your hairstyle can really be put together properly. But what I was mentioning earlier about her hair being bricked, it kind of leads me to believe that some of her dreadlocks began to combine over time, especially with her having them in for over 10 years. Now of course that's my theory based on what they look like, but that's truly what I think. And typically you would only want to combine dreadlocks only really if you wanted to, or if they're thinning out at the roots. Of course if the dreadlocks are getting thinned down by the ends or at the tips, there's nothing really to worry about. As long as your roots are healthy, that's all really that matters. So if your roots are beginning to get thin, then it would be best for you to actually combine them at the roots, which is actually really easy to do. But overall, I really feel like she has a really clean set of dreadlocks, and it is really interesting seeing the dreadlock extensions installed. And based on how far her dreadlocks have actually came, it's really interesting seeing her with the dreadlock extensions installed. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts down in the comment section, so make sure to comment down below what you guys think, and also don't forget to comment down below who you guys want to see next. And like I mentioned, if you want videos on how to actually maintain